Training camp day 13 is here for the Green Bay Packers, the first practice after that first preseason game versus the New York Jets. So let's go over all the highlights from today's practice. Now, this practice was closed to the public, but it was open to the media. So, of course, we have highlights from today's practice. And let's also go over all the takeaways from today as well, going over all the injury updates and what happened in the 11v11 team portions. I'd really appreciate it if you took the time to go click the subscribe button and also leave a like on the video. It supports the channel a ton. And if you want to stay in the loop with everything Green Bay Packers this training camp into the regular season, this is the perfect place to do so. Now, like I mentioned, this was a closed practice to the public, so unfortunately, because of that, we won't have any 1v1 or 11v11 clips, and the Packers also didn't run any 1v1s as this was a non-padded practice, just helmets and shorts for today. The Packers have an open practice to the public tomorrow, then they travel to Indianapolis on Wednesday, where they then have their joint practice with the Colts on Thursday. That's going to be definitely a practice to watch for, all the different news and takeaways and clips from that one for sure. All right, so let's dive down into the highlights. And in this first clip, we have Malik Willis and Jordan Love throwing passes across the middle. But one thing I want to show you guys, and maybe I'll zoom in on the video when I'm editing this, is Jordan Love started this practice with a wrap around his left thumb. Now, he wasn't listed as limited, so he wasn't even on the injury report, but after practice, he had a lengthy talk with LaFleur and also one of their trainers in Brian Angle. So maybe something to monitor going forward. If Jordan Love does have an issue on that left thumb, obviously the non-throwing hand, maybe we'll see limited reps or less reps for him against that joint practice versus the Colts. I wouldn't expect starters to play in this Colts game anyways, just because they have a joint practice. But it is something to monitor going forward. But it didn't seem too serious as Jordan Love wasn't listed on the injury report and maybe just something that happened during that Jets game. In other injury news, the Packers are seemingly getting healthier at the running back position. We see Emmanuel Wilson and Marshawn Lloyd here in this clip, both of which have returned to practice. The Packers were pretty light on running back heading into that Jets game. We saw a lot of Amar Johnson, Jalen White, Israel Abanikanda, Chris Brooks. And I think we could all collectively agree we want to see Marshawn Lloyd in action, right? A very injury-plagued 2024 season, was off to a strong start to start this training camp, and then suffered yet again another injury. Luckily, he is back. I believe he was in limited fashion, so I don't think he participated in team sessions, but he does look good out here in this clip. Same with Emmanuel Wilson, who seemingly evaded a significant knee injury, which was about a week ago. So nice to see both these guys return to the field, and hopefully both can be ready for this second preseason game against the Colts. Here's yet another clip of Marshawn Lloyd going through yet another handoff drill, and he looks good out there making cuts. Doesn't look like he's favoring anything. Obviously, he was out with that groin injury, and he looks good here. Some other injury news. Players that were injured in Saturday's game against the Jets and did not practice today, one of which being Zane Anderson, another being Jalen White. And a player that was injured in the game that did return was Corey Ballantyne. You can see him here in this clip, a player that played both boundary and nickel in that Jets game. The Packers re-signed Corey Ballantyne last week to add depth into that cornerback room. The other did not participate were Xavier McKinney and Jaden Reed, which over the weekend we heard both of which had injuries that will likely hold them out until week 1 versus the Lions. Xavier McKinney has stated that he's confident he will be ready to go week 1, and Matt LaFleur mentioned that hopefully we'll be able to have Jaden Reed back ready for week 1, but he was seen in a walking boot pregame versus the Jets, so that's obviously still a concern. Tay Wicks still out of today's practice. Would really like to see him return soon. Christian Watson was also still out, obviously. Colin Oliver and John Williams, and still no team sessions for Rasheed Walker. We already saw Marshawn Lloyd and Emmanuel Wilson return to practice today. Kamal Haddon, defensive back, also returned today. And Savion Williams is back after missing that first preseason game. Would have really liked to see him out there. Hopefully he can get back into action here, this joint practice against the Colts on Thursday, and hopefully can play in this Saturday game as well. All right, so now let's go over all the takeaways from day 13 of Green Bay Packers training camp. Again, it was a non-padded day, more of a lighter practice. I would assume tomorrow will be padded, and Thursday will definitely be padded for the joint practice against the Colts. The player of the day, I've said this, it seems like 5 to 6 training camp videos now on defense, was yet again Lucas Van Ness. I thought he had a really nice game against the Jets. I did just release my takeaway video for that Jets preseason game. If you want to go watch that right after this one, it's there on my channel right before this video. And Lucas Van Ness had yet another great day of camp. He had 3 would-be sacks today, one of which was a joint sack with Rashawn Gary, and he also set the edge very, very well today. Lucas Van Ness just continues to stack success, it seems like, every single day of practice. And this is huge. I know we've talked about it so much because he just continues to have great days of practice, but if Lucas Van Ness can take that year 3 jump, I mean, that could be game-changing for this pass rush, for this Packers defense. All offseason, we're kind of wondering who's going to be the guy opposite Rashawn Gary. I think we all collectively agreed that, hey, the Packers are going to give Lucas Van Ness the start, but what will he do with those snaps? And he looks a lot stronger. He looks like he's adding pass rush moves to his repertoire, which was a big concern from him last year. It didn't seem like he had any pass rush moves, and it seems like that has changed. And it seems like DeMarcus Covington has been a great hire thus far. Obviously, a lot of preseason to go, and then into the regular season will be the real test for Lucas Van Ness. But it looks great thus far, which is awesome. Another player that had a great day of practice today on the flip side on offense, Jordan Morgan. Now, Lucas Van Ness did have a great day of practice, but Jordan Morgan did as well, and I thought he did wonderfully at left tackle in that first preseason game against the Jets. He didn't allow a single pressure, sack, hit, or hurry at that left tackle spot, and we saw a heavy dose of Jordan Morgan at left tackle in this game, and I think we will going forward. And obviously, Rasheed Walker still is yet to return to team session, so we just are going to see a lot of Jordan Morgan, but he's starting to kind of make it more of a conversation of, okay, who's going to start at left tackle in 2025 for the Green Bay Packers? You know, before training camp started, I was pretty confident that, hey, it's going to be Rasheed Walker no matter what. But now it's starting to get to that point where you kind of have that thought of, okay, can Jordan Morgan win out this job at left tackle? Before that Jets preseason game, I wouldn't have been saying this, but I thought he had a really nice outing and, you know, was a building block for him moving forward. And then he had a really nice day of practice today. Another note was there's a lot of first-team work for both Matthew Golden and Savion Williams today, obviously with all the injuries at wide receiver, Jaden Reed being out, Dontavian Wicks being out, of course, also Christian Watson. So Savion Williams and Matthew Golden getting a lot of first-team work today. Now, Golden has been with the first team, it seems like, for the past couple of weeks now. He also had his first NFL catch, official NFL catch in a preseason game against the Jets. It was a nice quick slant for a first down on third down from Jordan Love, so nice to see that. But I'd like to see the Packers try to get Matthew Golden more deep shots in this next preseason game, because it seemed like the Packers offense was running a very vanilla offense, which they were. It was under Adam Stenavich. Even though it's vanilla, you can still take some deep shots, and I hope they do against the Colts. The second team defense also had 2 interceptions on Malik Willis today, one from Jonathan Baldwin. It was a tipped pass, I believe, from Micah Robinson, who was good in coverage on the play, and Jonathan Baldwin ended up with the interception. And also to start the 2-minute drill for the second team, the very first play, Katana Ladapo came up with an interception. You guys know, love Katana Ladapo here on this channel. Really high hopes for him. I think he makes a 53-man roster as a rotational safety, and with Zane Anderson being out right now, who knows how long that ends up being. That could be Katan's route to the roster, replacing Zane Anderson's snaps. We'll see how that goes. Obviously, injuries change the course of a lot here, but it's nice to see Oladapo making a good play in today's camp. Then to wrap things up, the first team offense did end up stalling yet again in the 2-minute drill. We saw, I believe it was on last Thursday's practice, the offense did really well in 2-minute drill, which usually it's the defense that wins this, and that was the case yet again today. Now, Love did find Dobbs and Heath on this drive, but also there was incomplete passes to Dobbs and Heath. It was a bad drop from Malik Heath, who also had a bad drop in that first preseason game. He's got to respond hopefully better after that. And there's also a really nice Texas route ran by Josh Jacobs, a complete pass over Isaiah McDuffie, but the offense ended up stalling, and for some reason they didn't allow Mark McNamee to kick the quote-unquote game-winning field goal. I'm not really sure there, but essentially the defense won that drill. A pretty light practice today, obviously. Closed the public, no pads. They might even have a non-padded practice yet again tomorrow because they're traveling to Indianapolis on Wednesday, and they'll have that intense joint practice on Thursday. But nonetheless, You'll find all the takeaways and highlights here on this channel. So definitely return tomorrow after the last public practice before they head to Indianapolis. And then definitely on Thursday for that joint practice. Very excited for that, as that will likely be, where the starters get some reps in rather than in the preseason game versus the Colts. But I really appreciate you guys coming by to the channel. Again, go check out my Jets versus Packers takeaway video. I just released that today. But I really appreciate you guys coming by. I'll catch you all in the next one. And as always, go Pack Go.